Hello there, it's Hugh from QLC again. Merry Christmas. So, what exactly are the World Economic Forum planning? Even on their own website, you've seen articles about the need for Marxism to be added to capitalism to make it better, or, a COVID, but not really COVID, a cyber COVID or a cyber pandemic that will destroy millions of computers around the world, a cyber attack that's inevitable and something we should prepare for after COVID. Just as we're trying to forget about COVID, just as we're trying to get rid of COVID, they want to come up with a new problem that we should all be scared about. What else have they talked about? They've talked about the fourth industrial revolution, where we should merge the digital with the biological and the physical. They've talked about automation. They've talked about making everything greener and global carbon tax. They've talked about increasing tax regulation and making it stricter than ever for big business. They've talked about making the world more equal and more, well, not equal, more equitable, therefore equal outcomes, for everybody, not just the rich. But here's the thing, these people are the rich and famous. The members of the World Economic Forum, they're some of the richest people in the world. CEOs and managing directors of Fortune 500 companies, some of the biggest companies in the world, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, celebrities such as Bono and Leonardo DiCaprio, billionaires. Like the guy running it is a guy called Klaus Schwab. He's always talking about the Great Reset and how we need to reset capitalism. People talk about how this means that, the entire world will be reset into one global economy, how we've got to redefine capitalism, how capitalism as it is isn't working because of climate change, because of the pandemic, because of racial inequality. But here's the thing, these so-called billionaires, no, there are billionaires, most of them, these billionaires, these so-called heroes of our time, these thought leaders, not only are these people, in my opinion, talking about, pipe dreams, but they're also talking about tackling the very issues that they benefit from. Most of the people in the WEF, most of the people are white. Most of them are billionaires. Like the wealth inequality and the racial inequality benefits them. So why are they going to tell everybody that they are the ones, they are the thought leaders that we should all listen to when it comes to redefining the world as we know it? And if you look at it, and we've all done research on the Great Reset, it's been pretty vague. If you look at their promotional advertisements for the Great Reset, it's just a bunch of still images of climate change and war and pestilence and farming. While I see still images, like 3-second clips all meshed together to form like a 90-second clip of all the different problems and all the different issues that we are facing in the world. That's not a promotional advertisement for what's supposed to be a brand new world order. That's just it. Like a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old media studies student could do better than that. That's one issue. Another issue is when they talk about stuff like the Great Reset or the Fourth Industrial Revolution, they're talking about merging the physical and biological with the digital. Well, if you're talking to me about how we should focus on preparing for a cyber attack, why the hell should we integrate humanity with machines? That doesn't make any sense. And why, in this pandemic, where millions of people have died, millions of people have lost their jobs, millions of people are dealing with mental health issues that could lead them to the brink of suicide, millions of people are suffering, millions of people are kept in their homes, millions of people are stuck in their homes for Christmas. Some of them don't even have anybody to visit. They're spending Christmas alone. They had plans, but they got cancelled because a few days before we were meant to have the relaxation of COVID restrictions, Boris Johnson decided to put the entire of London in Tier 4. So after saying he wasn't going to get rid of the Xmas bubbles, he wasn't going to get rid of the Xmas bubbles, he got rid of the Xmas bubbles, which I knew the Xmas bubbles was a stupid idea, and I knew they would do a U-turn on it. I knew it. But back to this. What are the World Economic Forum planning? I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers, because I don't. There's going to be more videos on this to come. This is more like an introduction. But from what I've seen so far, it doesn't look great. You've got all these rich billionaires. By the way, I love billionaires, by the way. That's not the real problem. But the real problem is these people are so out of touch with reality of the majority of people in the world. There are people, millions of people, billions of people that are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. How are you, as billionaires going to talk to us about how we need to change the world? There's no way that you're going to change the world to benefit us instead of yourselves. There's no way that you're going to give away your billions for the sake of green energy, for the sake of making the world safer and cleaner and healthier, not just for the human body, but for the planet itself. What you want is for world governments to tell us to spend more money, to pay more tax, to deal with the financial and fiscal consequences of building this big new world. You don't want to give us this new world using your money. You want to use ours. That's what you're talking about. Also, what I find fascinating is that there are more and more people going and talking about how being green and being renewable, using renewable energy to power the world would be more costly and more environmentally destructive than how things are now. I'll put a TED talk about it in the description below. Now, I don't fully agree with that, but I do agree that, going green is very expensive, which is why we're not doing it now. And the one thing that we can't do right now is come up with new ways to spend way more money than we're supposed to, because we are in a global recession because of the global lockdown, not because of the virus. Because if you're going to blame the virus for this, then how come the same World Economic Forum, with the help of the UN, with the help of the World Bank, with the help of the Chinese Center for Disease Prevention and Control, with the help of all these other institutions like the Johns Hopkins University for Medicine, how can all these entities come together last year in 2019, October/November, come up with the Event 201 plan? I say Event 201, it wasn't a plan, it was a simulation of, you guessed it, a global pandemic, and how the world would respond to a global pandemic that would kill millions upon millions of people. We are now in a global recession because of the global lockdown as a consequence of the global pandemic that killed millions of people. And the same Chinese Center for Disease Control or Prevention, whatever the hell it's called, the same entity that was supposed to tell us day one that there might be a pandemic, that if it got out of, there might be the risk of a pandemic, that if it got out of control, more people would die, that it would leave Wuhan, that it would kill more people outside of China. The people that were supposed to tell us day one, if they had told us about all of that, then none of this would be happening right now. Everything would be open. Businesses would be open. Pubs, clubs, restaurants, retail. Now 99% of businesses are closed down for the holidays, not just because it's the holidays, but because nothing's open. We are in a global recession because of the global lockdown, because of the global pandemic. That the same entities that are telling us that we need to fight against the pandemic and fight for a new world order and push for a great reset of capitalism and the global economy as we know it by making everything centralized and institutionalized and monitored. The same people saying this are the same people that knew about the virus, or at least knew about the risk of the virus, because they created a bloody simulation for it. How are you going to tell me that they created a bloody simulation for it a year ago, over a year ago, and then a few months later, it actually happened, and the same entity that could have stopped it, a Chinese Center for Disease Prevention and Control, whatever it's called, how can these people still sit there and act as if they couldn't have done more about it? How could the IMF or the World Bank or the World Economic Forum sit there and say they couldn't have done more about it? But what they're doing now is they're using the pandemic as an excuse to push this great reset through. How are they doing it? They're using fear, and they're using, they're using the consequences of what's happened in 2020 to tell people, see, look, we're right. You should listen to us. We have a brand new plan. They're very vague on this plan. Even people that have researched the 47-minute video on what the Great Reset is couldn't get much out of that video. We've had to look at other sources, second-party sources, third-party sources, to figure out what this reset is meant to be about. So I'm not going to pretend that this video is unbiased, because it's not. And there will be there's going to be more content on this in the future. But what I want to leave you with on this Merry Christmas Day is that there are millions of people out of work, poorer, more financially unstable, unsure of what the next day is going to bring, let alone the next year, because of something that could have easily been prevented, so easily prevented that they even created a simulation for how the world would respond to it. Merry Christmas. like my stuff, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.